Hello and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. Well, here's some examples. Laura Ingalls Wilder, Farmer Boy. I read an excerpt from it recently and got me thinking about Laura Ingalls Wilder, and got me thinking about the books that I am showing and sharing on these videos. And a word about that. If some of the books are for adults, I'll say that, and other books might be books that you would want to read to a child or children. I think that I should put a caution in there that if it's something you're going to read aloud to family members, that you first read it to yourself. Something like Farmer Boy, it seems like it's in a series that it'd be okay to read that, but there are some things that happen that maybe wouldn't faze you or your children, but might faze you and your children. So it's so hard to know, and so that's why I put a caution in there. And I should have done that probably every time, but this is going to be probably the only time. Now, if you've read all the Little House books, you may be curious to know, well, more. Is there more I can find out? And if you are, you maybe already found certain things, but I'm going to share a few with you today that I thought you should know exist. One is Laura Ingalls Wilder, On the Way Home, the diary of a trip from South Dakota to Mansfield, Missouri in 1894. Now, I think I'd like to read you the first page. I find reading the first page often gives you a little feel for things. For 7 years there have been too little rain. The prairies are dust. Day after day, summer after summer, the scorching winds blew the dust, and the sun was brassy in a yellow sky. Crop after crop failed. Again and again the barren land must be mortgaged for taxes and food and next year's seed. The agony of hope ended when there was no harvest and no more credit. No money to pay interest and taxes. The banker took the land. Then the banker failed. In the 7th year, a mysterious catastrophe was worldwide. All banks failed. From coast to coast, the factories shut down. The businesses ceased. This was a panic. It was not a depression. The year was 1893, when no one had heard of depressions. Everyone knew about panics. There had been panics in 1797, 1820, 1835, 1857, 1873. A panic was nothing new to Grandpa. He'd seen them before. This one was no worse than usual, he said, and nothing like as bad. as the wartime Civil War. Now we were all safe in our beds. Nobody was rampaging but Coxey's armies. West from Home. Letters of Laura Ingalls Wilder, San Francisco, 1915. She's gone there for the Panama Pacific International Exposition. And Almanzo couldn't go with her. He had to stay back and look after things. And so actually Rose was the one that kept urging her to come. So she wrote letters. Now, from the back of the book, there's a little note. It says, for young adult and adult readers. So that's sort of talking in the same vein that I was suggesting. Trying to hit appropriate ages so that younger children, this book might not be appropriate for them. Now, you could read it yourself and say, no, this is okay. So, now, this is a biography. There's been a fair number of books written, so that I'm sharing you a few here. This is Donald Zuckert, and he wrote a book called Laura, A Life of Laura Ingalls Wilder. And Laura Ingalls Wilder wrote things that were rediscovered later. They didn't appear necessarily in a book form anywhere, but they reappeared, and they have been edited by Stephen W. Hines. When things are edited, you don't know, I mean, that's one person's editing. You don't know what's you're missing, perhaps, right? Now, this is one of these books. Well, this was edited. This book was edited as well by Roger Lee McBride. And Roger Lee McBride picked up a family tree. In fact, there's a lovely family tree in this series so that you can keep things straight. He wrote a number of books about the Rose years, Rose being the daughter of Almanzo and Laura. And I thought it might be nice to share with you this little passage because it has a lot in it about trees. A pale ghost of the moon hovered over the treetops in a sky that glowed deep blue. The sunshine lay on Rose's shoulders like a cozy shawl, bright and warm. She inhaled deeply to catch a whiff of smoke from Papa's pipe, mingling with the spicy smell of falling leaves. Finally, the team turned off the road into a wagon track that climbed a hillside. The forest fell away behind them, and the horses bent their necks and grunted as they pulled the wagon into a great field that soared up and up in front of them. In that field were lines and lines of apple trees, more than anyone could possibly count. The trees marched across the sloping hillside like an army of bushy-headed soldiers. Each tree cast a patch of moving shadow on the golden grass. Pa whoa the mares and pulled up his hat brim to see better. Fido whined and fidgeted to get down, but Mama held him tight. Boughs laden with red and yellow fruit, as pretty and bright as Christmas balls, swayed and shook. Men, women, even children, some on ladders, some standing on the ground, swarmed over the branches, picking the fruit into baskets. The whole orchard quivered with motion. This was their future, Rose thought, and the instant she thought it, Pa uttered a satisfied mmm. He tapped out the ashes of his pipe on the side of the wagon. Don't think there's any crop as lovely as apples, sighed Mama. Mr. Rippey sets a nice orchard, Papa agreed. In a couple of years, our place will look as fine as this, and full of pickers too. Well, thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.